So, tonight we're going to talk about 17 different lessons that you can learn when it comes to being a first time buyer. Now, the first thing that is the ultimate, so important is working out your affordability. Before you even start looking at properties, before you start figuring it out, you really need to understand how much you can afford. And from that point, it helps you decide how much of a deposit you need. Are you going to go for a mortgage that's 100% mortgage with no deposit? Are you going to save up for a deposit? Once you understand your affordability, that will give you that flexibility. Who am I? My name is Manda. I'm the mortgage coach. I combine mortgage advice with financial coaching. The second lesson I wanted to talk about is when it comes to actually going and viewing properties. Before you do, so many people do the whole Zoopla, compare the market, sorry, on the market, and even Rightmove, and start looking online for it before they actually physically go out. So you go out, you walk in around the area that you are actually interested in, and once you have found the area that will be home, you start going to as many estate agents as you can and you get registered with them, because getting registered with estate agents really does put you ahead of the game, because you can ask them questions, find out what the market's like, find out how many properties are going on sale, how quickly they're selling, are people putting in offers and then pulling out or not being able to get mortgages for them? What is going on in the landscape? And yes, not all estate agents will be forthcoming, but the more you ask them, the more you'll have practice and you'll get into it. Again, in my first time buyer companion, it has a list of questions you can ask estate agents. The next thing is make sure you're registered, because when you are, it's all very well going in and having a quick chat with them, but make sure you're officially registered. Being registered with an estate agent means every time a property goes on the market, they will contact you, rather than just waiting for it to go online and being with everybody else. You'll get a call, an email, something like that. They'll contact you and let you know this property is coming on the market and it is in the criteria of what you asked for. So that's great. Then it's the viewing. That's the next thing that you really need to know about. So when it comes to viewing a property, there's certain best ways to view a property. Always have a checklist. Again, if you don't have one, there's one in my first time buyer companion. Then after you go through the checklist, you can then, and the checklist that I provide is room by room. It starts with outside and then it starts with all the particular rooms. After that, it's a log. So what I mean by that is it's a property log. You list every single property that you visited and it makes it easier to compare. Once you've compared, what's next? That's right, you pick the one that you're most interested in. I would always go with my top three. And I personally, and obviously everybody's different, other opinions are available, I would put an offer on three properties. But how I would do it is if you're offering for three properties, because you want to make sure that you covered your bases, I would use a different estate agent. I wouldn't go to the same estate agent and put in, three properties there. Sometimes properties are with more than one estate agent, so you can actually go to the other estate agent and put in your offer there. When you're putting in an offer, make sure you speak to the estate agent, you speak to the seller, you do your online research so you know what price to price it at. If you've got someone that you can take, or even a surveyor who can look at the condition of the property and see if you can get away, decide what works need to be done on it and maybe reduce the offer that you were planning to give. If you want to know how to do an offer, again, it's in the first time buyer companion. Within that, it gives you an email template, and it also gives you like an AI tool, so you can actually put the information in, so it will structure a really nice email for you with all the personal information. So you come across professional, you come across, you know what you're talking about, you come across assertive but polite. So that's a great tool as well. The next thing is, once you've put in that offer, you may need to go back and forth. Could have been a bit of negotiating. Again, the negotiation guide is part of the first time buyer companion. So the next thing that we want to look at is your mortgage advisor. Now, you may speak to a mortgage advisor right at the beginning to work out affordability, or the mortgage advisor may fit in at this point when you've had your offer accepted on the property and you want to get a full mortgage done. Now, when you're talking to mortgage advisors, if you're not using myself or my team, then the best thing to do is to go on the Financial Conduct Authority register and make sure that they're legitimate and they're registered, because the documents they're going to ask for are things like pay slips, bank statements. If you're self-employed, it will be your self-assessments. When they're doing the ID check, they will want passports, they will want driving licenses, proof of address. So you're giving all of these personal information that could be used for identity fraud, if we're being honest. So make sure you're handing your personal documents over, one, in a secured way, and two, to a safe, legitimate individual. The next thing is they will then do the mortgage process. So they will source the mortgage for you. So you need to understand whether you want a fixed or variable mortgage. You need to understand, if you go with a fixed, is it a 2-year fixed, a 3-year fixed, or a 5-year fixed? You need to understand whether you want to do a 40-year term pushing you right to retirement, or if you've got the budget or affordability for a 15-year term or a 20-year term. That all needs to be discussed with your mortgage advisor. You need to understand that if you do go with a 5-year fixed and then for some reason you need to sell the property, it's okay if you're selling it and buying another one. You can actually port your mortgage. That's when the mortgage moves from one property to another. But if you're not planning on doing that, then what you can do is you just need to make sure, based on your circumstances, whether you go for a 2, 3, or 5-year fixed. Because at the end of the day, there could be early repayment charges, but your mortgage advisor should go through all of that with you. Then the next step is they do the mortgage application on your behalf. And then all the documents that they've asked for, they will upload to the lender. You'll get an illustration which will have what the interest rate is, what it is per month, and all of that information before you actually do the full mortgage application. Once the full mortgage application's done, then they'll be looking at doing a survey. When it comes to a survey, and there's a surveys guide again as part of the first time buyer companion pack, it will go there are 3 types of surveys. There's the valuation, which is very, very basic. Then there's the home buyers report, which is like a traffic light system. If there are major faults, it's red. If it's minor, it's amber. If it's good to go, then it's green. You need to know that information, and that is probably why it's the most popular survey on the market for first time buyers. Personally, I've always done the full structural, which is the most expensive of the 3, but it is extremely thorough and you do get a very thick report. And if you're planning to do possible works on the property later on, in a couple of years' time or whatever, it's good to know about that kind of information as well. So the next thing is you've done the full mortgage application, you've uploaded the documents, and you've done the valuation or survey, whichever you pick to do. And then that's that all important mortgage offer. Once you get the mortgage offer, this is when the conveyancer or property solicitor comes into play. Once you've got them and you're working with them, you need to pick the right one. Again, the first time buyer companion does have a questionnaire for the conveyancer, what you should ask them, how to instruct them. Also, some of the jargon that they use, they talk about searches, they talk about inquiries, they talk about quite a lot of things. There is an area within the first time buyer companion that goes through all of that. So you've got all that information. Then they will obviously take it to exchange and completion. Again, to understand the whole buying process, there is a guide in the first time buyer pack. So that is the whole process, and that is the 17 lessons that you need to know. So I hope you found this video useful. And I look forward to seeing you again soon. Don't forget to subscribe and share. Take care.